So let's have a look at the exercise and how to set up an IDM server. This was a complicated exercise. I think you agree with that. Now, in complicated exercises, you should set your priorities. And the priority right now is that we get an IDM server up and running. And that means that we should just focus on setting up the IDM server. And in order to do that, let's just switch off the firewall. Systemctl stop firewall D. I wouldn't recommend disabling firewall D because on the RHCE exam you need a firewall to be up and running, and if you forget to enable it again, well, you will miss a lot of points because you don't have a firewall. But just stop it for now so that for testing it makes it easier to test if you really configured it the right way. First, there's a little bit of preparation, which is an etc host. We need host name resolving. So let me put in 192.168.4.101, which is server1.example.com, also known as server1, and 192.168.4.102, which is server2.example.com, also known as server2. Next, you also need to make sure that NSCD or any existing LDAP or Kerberos services aren't running. I didn't do anything with them, so that should be okay. So what we need to do now is yum-y install IPA server and bind and nds-ldap. I'm installing bind right now because the IPA server has perfect bind integration, and why shouldn't we do that all at once? So now that the software is installed, we can do an IPA server install, which is the prompted installation. I would recommend to read carefully. So it installs the IPA server and it tells us that cronnyday will be disabled. Cronnyday is the default RHEL 7 service that provides time, and it's not compatible with the NTPD that is integrated in the IPA server. And next it asks me if we want to configure integrated DNS. I think it's a good idea to do that, so let's type yes. And okay, it is complaining that it needs an additional package here. That doesn't really matter. We're going to install that now. yum-y install followed by the name of the package. You can see that was an easy one, and we just start again and we say yes on the integrated DNS. It tells us that an existing bind configuration has been detected, and if we want to overwrite it, well, I am 100% sure that the existing bind configuration isn't doing anything. It's just the bind package that I just installed. So yes, I want to overwrite it. And next it asks for the server hostname. As we have set up hostname resolving, it comes with the hostname automatically, and from there it takes the domain name. Now, if it takes a very long time before it asks you to confirm the domain name, you have done something wrong in hostname resolving, so you should check your etc host before continuing. In this case, I can just hit enter, and hit enter again for the Kerberos realm. And then it asks for a directory manager password. I like using password. It's an absolutely insecure password, but for a course it works well, and at least it allows me to never wonder what was the password I use here. Same for the IPA admin. And do we want to configure DNS forwarders? Well, as this server is going to do DNS, it needs to have access to the complete DNS hierarchy, so it can be useful to do DNS forwarders so that it can resolve external hosts as well. And it asks for an IP address for a DNS forwarder. Let's do the well-known 8888. And 1 is enough. And do you want to configure a reverse zone? Yeah, let's do that. And it automatically prompts me for the reverse zone in DNS. I don't want to go into much detail about setting up DNS. I just want to do it. And then it asks if I want to continue to configure the system with these values. Yes, I do. And up, there we go. So at this point, the server seems to be installed, which is good. So we can continue. First, let's restart SSHD to obtain some Kerberos credentials. And next, init admin, which is asking for a password, which is my very secret password. It's not very informative, but if you do IPA user-find admin, it shows us that we have a user admin here. So all's looking good here. So now that we have verified that there is a user admin which has Kerberos credentials, we can continue and add some users. So that is IPA user-add Lisa. And first name Lisa and last name Jones. And it's giving me the information, so that's looking good. Lisa probably wants a password as well, so IPA passwd Lisa. And we can type the password twice. And change the password for Lisa at example.com. Looking good. Now let's repeat that for Laurie. First name Laurie, last name Smith. And do an IPA passwd for Laurie as well. And there we go again with our very secret password. All done. Now at this point I can do a IPA user-find for Laurie, for example, to get the information about Laurie, and that is looking good. Kerberos keys are available, password through, so all looking good. To finish the exercise, we need to go to another server. Let me just repeat it once more. Everything we have done so far is very cool and wasn't that hard, but it's not in the exam objectives. So we are doing complicated stuff here that you don't have to know for the exam. So let me go to server 1. To continue the configuration work from here. So before continuing, I want to create an etc host to make sure that we have host name resolution. So that would be for 101 for server1.example.com, which is server 1, and 192.168 for 102 for server 2.example.com, server 2. So let's configure the client. That will be auth-config. Auth-config consists in 3 different versions. You need to be a command line freak if you want to work with auth-config from the command line, because it takes a lot of options. And graphical interfaces, hey, this is a Linux server. You really want to be using a graphical interface? So let's do auth-config TUI, the text user interface. So the user information, we need to get the information from the LDAP server. And as for the authentication, we don't want to use LDAP authentication, we want to use Kerberos authentication. So next we need to specify all the parameters that are required. Use TLS, of course, because we want to secure the connection. We need a server name, we need a base DN, which is set to my LDAP server and my base search DN. So we can press next. And next we need to specify the Kerberos realm. So this is the Kerberos realm. KDC and admin server don't need to be specified. Just use DNS to locate KDCs for realms, and that will work as well. And then you press OK, and that is basically what is needed to configure the client. And at this point, you should be able to log in as the other user on the client.